The next thing we're going to go through is called the Moeller Method. Now, it's called the Moeller Method because there was a guy in the late 1800s that observed Civil War drummers, and as they were playing, they had this certain motion within their arms that allowed for the most natural rebound from the drumstick, which in turn allowed them to play faster, for longer, with more power, with more accuracy, and it just overall is a great way to play the drums. Now, this technique has been really popularized by Jim Chapin, who was actually Sanford Moeller's one of his best students, and then also Dom Famularo. I learned it from Lionel Duperon and Mike McCalco, who studied it with those two guys. And so it's just a really, really great technique that you start to learn on the practice pad, and when it transfers over to the drum set, you just get this unbelievably fluid sound and fluid look. Watch a guy like Dave Weckl play the drums. When he plays the drums, it looks like it's effortless. It looks like he's hardly even working. Obviously, he still sweats, he still works, and it doesn't mean he's not doing anything. But he's able to play for a lot longer periods of time with a lot less energy. Now, it's basically broken down into 4 different strokes. 2 of those strokes are accented, and 2 of them are unaccented. Let's go through the first 2 accented strokes. Now, the first one is called a full stroke. Okay, now full stroke, you start high, and you finish high. So basically, you drop the stick comes back up. And you want the stick to come up naturally, and you want your hand to follow the stick. You do not want to hit the pad and then pull the stick back up. Okay, so you want the stick to fly back naturally. If I just let it fly back, it's going to go like that, on its own. Okay, I'm not moving my hand and pulling it back. So what you want to do is move your hand with the stick. So the best way to practice a full stroke is just practice what's called a medium full stroke roll, which basically means your sticks come up to around this height and you play a single stroke roll. And as much as possible, let the sticks come up on their own. Now, the next stroke is called a downstroke. A downstroke starts high and finishes low. Okay, not on the drum, just off the drum. So you hit the drum, and you leave the stick around 1 inch to 2 inches off the head. Now, the 2 unaccented strokes are called a tap stroke and an upstroke. A tap stroke starts low and finishes low. Which is basically a ghost note. You kind of want this to almost just be dropped. You drop the stick from 1 inch or 2 inches high. You just drop your fingers out. We've talked about finger control before, so you guys know about that. All right, the final stroke is called an upstroke. Now, an upstroke starts low and finishes high. Okay, so you start low, drop the tip of the stick, and comes high. And this is in preparation for either a downstroke or a full stroke. So the motion that will happen from an upstroke to a downstroke is this. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Now, I'm exaggerating like crazy because I'm trying to show you guys exactly what's happening. So before you actually get into any of this stuff or any of these exercises, which are awesome and which is going to allow you to go a lot faster, a lot cleaner, a lot better dynamics, and have a lot more control, you need to know these 4 strokes. They're very, very important because in essence, this is the Moeller method kind of broken down. Okay, so just practice up and down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. So what's happening there? I'm basically hitting the drum once, and I'm getting 2 strokes. Now, most people who just started out playing the drums, if they heard that, they would go like this. Do you see how much more energy that I have to actually use to do that? Now, if you're looking for that sort of dynamic sound, that's fine, but generally, on the drums, you like this sound and this feel. Now practice that with both hands. Okay, once you kind of get the basics of each of those 4 strokes down, you can start to move into the exercises. And this is where it's going to really get challenging because you have to have great grip, you have to have great finger control, and you have to have great rebound. Okay, you need to understand where to hold your stick to get the most natural rebound, because this is all going to deal with rebound because we're going to try and get the maximum result for the smallest amount of effort. So take a look at exercise 1. We basically have 8th note triplets, all played with our right hand. The accent is on counts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that looks like this. I'm not going to play it with any sort of molar. Now with molar, okay, so see what happened there? Originally, lots of effort. Very little effort. In the second example, I literally just hit the drum 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything else happened on its own. Okay? So that's what you have to practice with both hands. Exercise 1 and 2 are basically first one with the right hand, second one with the left hand. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to play these at 80 beats per minute and then again at 120 beats per minute. And we'll talk about exactly what's happening between playing them slow as well as playing them fast. When you play them slow, you need to have a lot of control because the stick is naturally going to want to come all the way back, and then if your fingers are ready to push it down or it's ready to bounce again on the practice pad, it might be too soon. It might not fit with the note value that you're trying to achieve or the sound that you're trying to achieve. Okay, so it takes a lot of control, and this is where the arms, the wrists, and the fingers all have to work together in harmony to get the best result. Okay, so let's do this at 80 and 120 beats per minute. So that accented stroke actually helped produce the following 2 strokes on every group of 8th note triplets. What you're going to see when I play it faster is this whole motion is going to start to shrink because we got to get back to the drum sooner. And so as more strokes are needed, the motions start to shrink. So just remember that when you go to practice. You don't have to, it doesn't have to look exactly the same every single time. Another thing I'll mention is the actual strokes. What are we doing? We're going down, tap, up, 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 down, tap, up. Okay, so now let's do it again at 120. You guys can see how it sounds and looks played fast. It was pretty cool. When I first saw this, I was absolutely blown away. I'm like, where has this been all of my life? Why haven't I not studied molar right from the beginning? And that's the beauty of doing these lessons now is you can study this kind of stuff right from the beginning. The next exercise is basically exactly the same, but we're going to be doing it with our left hand. I'll play this one for you at 2 separate tempos. So don't push it to that tempo right away. Start slow and focus on staying very relaxed, relaxed grip, and focus on getting even strokes. Okay? You don't want it to sound like that's not 8th note triplets. You want nice, even strokes. Da, 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 da. In exercise number 3, we're going to do this using 16th notes. So all the same concepts apply, except the type of motions we're doing are a little bit different. Let's first go over that. Down, tap, tap, up. Down, tap, tap, up. Down, tap, tap, up. Down, tap, tap, up. Now, when I first started working on these, that's how I actually did it. I literally said it out loud, and I went through every single stroke because I wanted to make sure that it was played perfectly using Moeller. Because when you actually go to speed that up, that's when these sort of techniques are going to come through. That's where your diligence in actually knowing the motions and knowing what motions are actually used in the exercise comes through. So I'm going to do this for you guys at 2 separate tempos. We're going to do it at 60, very slow, and then again at 100, which is a lot faster. Now, all I'm concerned about is that you understand the motions and that you can play the exercise at some tempo perfectly. You always want to use it at many, many different tempos, and you don't just want to learn it at one speed and then that's it. Because songs are at many different tempos. And so take your time and learn all the different tempos. But as far as when to move on, you move on after you can do it solidly at one tempo for at least 2 minutes. But now I'll do it at 2 tempos for you, 60 and 100. And for the next one, we're just going to be doing it with our left hand. All the same concepts apply. So really, really slow it down first, practice the strokes with your left hand, and then play it to a metronome. I'm going to do this at 60 and again at 100 beats per minute. The next exercise is used a lot by jazz drummers because it's basically just an 8th note triplet, single stroke roll, but you'll see when my hands are actually doing the motions that it looks like I'm just going like this, but you're hearing all the other strokes being filled in. Really, it works really, really great in solos if you want to do some crazy fast stuff on the snare drum, the hi-hat, or any of the toms. It basically just utilizes the rebound of the drumstick, so you only have to hit all the quarter notes. Now, as far as the motions go, let's just look at what's happening because now we're actually alternating our strokes. So we have a down, up, tap, 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 down, up, tap. All right, so I'll play this one with the metronome for you guys at 2 separate tempos. The next pattern is actually a pattern I saw Jojo Mayer play in one of the songs that he was playing on one of his videos. It's really, really cool pattern. It's basically just Moeller, but played as triplets and played in unison. So your hands are just going together. Okay, we'll do it at 2 separate tempos for you. And I came up with the next exercise based off exercise 5, the one played with triplets and alternating single stroke roll. I mainly play rock and pop music, so when I do fills and stuff like that, I don't usually use eighth note triplets. So what this allowed me to do is use the energy from the first 2 accented strokes of a 30-second note count, and those accents allow the sticks to rebound and play all the following strokes for each count. So as far as the motions go, this is how it looks. Down, down, tap, 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 up, up. Down, down, tap, 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 up, up. Down, down, tap, 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 up, up. This one's a little more challenging because I haven't seen a lot of people actually use Moeller within 30-second notes this way, but spend some time with it and I think you'll be really, really happy that you did. Doing some snare fills or some hi-hat work and stuff like that, this technique is really, really good to have. Even if you put your right hand on the ride and left hand on the hi-hats and you're doing some cool ride and hi-hat combinations, this stuff is very, very useful. Okay, so I'm going to do it at 60 and then again at 100 for you. Now you might be a little bit confused looking at the next exercise because it's a single paradiddle, and up to this point we've just been doing either singles or straight notes using the Moeller method. But this is one that actually Mike McCalco showed me, and he says when you break down the single paradiddle, it's basically a triple stroke roll. And if you really have a lot of control over the drumsticks, using your fingers and your arms and your wrists, then you can actually play a single paradiddle and you can get it at really, really fast speeds with very little effort. And so let's look at the motions involved with this. We have down, up, tap, tap, 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 down, up, tap, tap. Okay, so utilizing the energy of the stick within the rebound allows us to get those following strokes. And having good control with our fingers allows us to get the separation so we're still doing the actual single paradiddle pattern. I'll do this one for you guys at 2 separate tempos. The next exercise is basically a double paradiddle. Let's look at the motions. Down, tap, tap, up, tap, tap. Down, tap, tap, up, tap, tap. All right, play it up to speed. With 2 tempos, it looks like this. When I'm playing all these Moeller patterns slowly, you'll notice that the stick heights are changing. And remember, this is what I was talking about before. Stick heights change. Also, the size of the motions are going to change as well. Now, hopefully, the dynamics are something that you can control. And that's very, very important as you continue to practice this more and more. This isn't something that, you don't learn these exercises and then move on. This is something we're going to be practicing for the rest of our life. This is something I'm still practicing constantly. Okay, I have a practice pad set up at my house that I always practice on. Okay, let's move on to the final exercise. The final exercise is basically a triple paradiddle, played as 16th notes. Now, one thing I want to mention here is when we have a larger group of single strokes, like the triple paradiddle and kind of the double paradiddle, sometimes your wrists have to start helping. So you utilize the rebound, but you also use a little bit of wrist, and everything starts working together. So I've been trying to demonstrate these all for you using exclusively Moeller and using only the accent to create the following strokes. But essentially, when you get on your kit, you're going to use a combination of everything. Sometimes you're going to use exclusively Moeller and just use the following strokes. But generally, it's not the case. It's that you've practiced that and you know how to do that and you understand rebound and using the energy of the stick to create following strokes. But that's just more of a mindset and more of something that you've said, I'm going to not do all the work on the drum set. I'm going to use some of this free energy that I'm getting back from every stroke I'm hitting. Okay, so this one is really great to start to bridge that gap and to start to get everything working together. So I'll do this one for you guys at 2 tempos. So as I said earlier on, I want you to understand these exercises and be able to play them at one tempo comfortably. Whatever that tempo may be, I'm not really going to give you any specifics on that. All of us are at different levels and all of us learn a little bit differently. So if you find the tempo of 100 or 60 more comfortable and I'm playing it at a completely different tempo, that's totally fine. Just learn it, get really good at that, and then slowly start to bump it up from there. Continue to develop the speed and control that you need. If you want more information on the Moeller Method, Mike McCalco has something out called the Moeller Method Secrets. Also check out any videos from Jim Chapin and Dom Famularo, as well as Jojo Mayer. They're great experts on this subject, and it's a really, really solid technique that you need to have in your arsenal. So once you've completed all these exercises, go ahead and move on to the next technique lesson.